everyone, a very good afternoon and a very warm welcome to the session. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fine and amazingly well. Let's get started with today's very interesting session where we are going to discuss how did Buddhism even begin in the first place and the story of Buddha and the rise of Buddhism along with it. This is going to be very interesting because this is one of the most followed religious beliefs across in the Southeastern Asian portion. So it's very important for us to know where it originated from, how did it begin, who started it, and of course India has a huge role to play into it, which gives us definitely a certain sense of pride. So let's get started with me, Ankana, your expert for social sciences at Embibe. Guys, I have done my studies in the field of humanities and I come with an experience of more than 9 years in the education sector where I've had the opportunity to interact with the students of CBSE and ICSE and teach them both online and offline. I specialize in social science as well as English because of my background of education. So let's get started. The chapter is New Questions and Ideas, under which the entire chapter will be divided as per the rationalized syllabus in the following topics, which is going to be the story of Buddha, the Sangha, monasteries, spread of Buddhism, Jainism, comparison between Buddhism and Jainism, Upanishads, school of Indian philosophy and the system of ashrams. आज हम सिर्फ इस पे बुद्धिज्म वाले सेक्शन पे फोकस करने वाले हैं. सो विल बी कवरिंग द स्टोरी ऑफ बुद्धा, सांघा मोनास्ट्रीज एंड द स्प्रेड ऑफ बुद्धिज्म. सो लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड. द कॉन्सेप्ट्स दैट वी आर गोइंग टू डू अंडर दीज टॉपिक्स आर गोइंग टू बी अर्ली लाइफ ऑफ गौतम बुद्धा, द ग्रेट renunciation of Buddha, his enlightenment, his teachings, Buddhist Sangha, members of the Sangha, life of members of the Sangha, viharas, resources of viharas, new forms of Buddhism and spread of Buddhism. Let's get started. More than 2500 years ago, 2500 साल से भी ज़्यादा पहले, when it was 567 BCE, before Christ era, one of the world's most famous individuals was born in the misty foothills of Himalayas. His name was Siddhartha, who would later be known as the Buddha. Born into a royal family, it seemed that Siddhartha had everything anyone could have ever desired for. It definitely seems a little, normally if you ask anyone today, what do you want in life? Most of the people will have a lot of materialistic goals which can be bought with money. If nothing else, they will say, maybe I would like to find a treasure, maybe I would want certain amount of money, maybe I would want to be the king of the world or king of this place. But he was born in one family, one royal family. He was a prince. He would have been a king. Despite of that, he remained unhappy. It didn't seem enough for him. There was something missing. There was a constant fear of being lost and, not having that happiness, satisfaction, contentment. Why did a prince who had everything, who could have had everything, who could have had his hands on whatever he wanted, still feel unhappy? And how did this unhappiness led him on a quest to change the world, which was now going to eventually in the future, until date does, give meaning to a lot of other people and help them find the light within themselves and in their lives. Come, let's find this legendary trail of Buddha, the wise one. So guys, early life की अगर बात करें, it's very important for us to understand his early life, because how did it all start? Because you might feel that despite of being a prince, maybe he would have had a very sad childhood, or something might have happened in his childhood that would have made him feel lonely or unhappy or not contained with all the things that he had around him. So in order to answer those questions and in order to satiate that curiosity, उस curiosity को answer करके आराम से जो है suppress करना ज़रूरी है, सारे सवालों का जवाब ढूंढना ज़रूरी है. तो अर्ली चाइल्डहुड से शुरू करते हैं और समझते हैं कि बचपन कैसा दिखता था, बचपन कैसा था. Siddhartha, who was also known as Gautam Buddha now, was born about 2500 years ago. तो कुछ 2500 साल पहले एक लड़के का जन्म होता है in your Sakyagana. ठीक है, कहाँ पे? He was basically part of the Kshatriya caste, and out of the Kshatriya caste, he belonged to the Sakyagana. तो इनके पिताजी जो हैं, his father was actually a king. इनके पापा जो है वो एक राजा थे, विच मीन्स ही वॉज बॉर्न एज अ प्रिंस एंड इन द मिस्टी माउंटेन्स ऑफ हिमालयाज, ठीक है, पहाड़ों में, वहाँ पे इनका जन्म होता है 2500 साल पहले। और जो नाम था, नाम सिद्धार्था था, ठीक है, सिद्धार्थ के नाम से बेसिकली जन्म होने के बाद द नेम दैट वाज गिवन टू हिम वाज सिद्धार्थ। लेटर नाउ वी नो हिम एज गौतम बुद्धा। He was a young man, and as a young man he departed from his comfortable home in search of knowledge. So basically बच्चे क्या होता है कि पहले ना गुरुकुल का सिस्टम हुआ करता था. Every child who was born, especially the ones in the royal family, had to go and get separated from their parents and stay in gurukul along with some guru, along with some preacher, the person who would help him understand the meaning of life and teach the different skills for survival, because they had to be prepared to be the kings of the next generation, right? So आप कोई भी पुरानी स्टोरी पढ़ लो, any old mythological story or any epic, Mahabharat, Ramayana, anything that you pick and study and read, you will always find that these people, the princes, the prince I mean, would be actually leaving their home, the household and all the easiness of the life that they had easily available for them, and will go and stay in Gurukul and in fact lead a difficult life and learn knowledge, different knowledges and different skills, how to fight, how to meditate. ये सारे जो जीवन के ज्ञान है वो गुरुकुल में जाके सीखते थे. So we can kind of imagine that Gurukul was like the hostel where in order to be ready to transform into a man from a child, from a boy to a man, every prince had to go there, stay there and have that journey away from their family, away from the comfort of their family. And it was said that once they learn all of these skills and knowledges, they would be ready to be the next king and to face whatever was coming to them. ठीक है? Hi Jai Vishnu, welcome to the session. Yes, please go ahead, ask your doubt. बिल्कुल पूछो, जो भी doubt है पूछ लीजिए. So anyways, Buddha also as a young man did go to the Gurukul, came back. When he came back, he was kind of grown up. ठीक है, थोड़े बड़े हो चुके थे. So he departed from his comfortable home in search of knowledge. During the wanderings, he engaged in discussions with many philosophers. So when he came back from Gurukul and started taking charge in some ways and started enjoying the life of a prince, he didn't seem very happy. There's a very famous story that he was actually passing by and a group of people who were, absolutely crying and weeping were passing by, and then he checked with them that what was the problem, and it seemed that they had lost a family member, and that was the reason that they were crying so much. That things like these he witnessed a lot, and he started asking questions to himself and to other people, where he would ask that when it is the fate of a man to die, then when a man dies, why people feel so sad, why people feel this utter sense of loss. And when humans have everything, even then why there is so much of greediness, so much of desire, but yet so much of discontentment and so much of sadness around. Why are people not happy? What is stopping them? What is it that people are missing in their lives? What is it that is lagging in people's life? So he kept on asking these questions. At the age of I think 20 or 21, there was a point where he was now would almost be crowned as a king very soon. But he feels that he needs to find the answers to these questions. And instead of choosing the crown and the throne, he decides to walk out of his, very comfortable life, palace, family, away from them, go out and talk to people and understand the answer to these questions. He didn't want to engage in, the regular pleasures and comforts of life. वो मोह माया वाली चीज़ों से दूर जाकर के जिंदगी का मतलब समझना चाहते थे. So he starts walking, he starts going around, wandering around. And when you're wandering around, you would find a lot of people. बहुत सारे ऋषि, मुनि, a lot of people who were preachers and philosophers who would go ahead, talk to people, give them preachings, give them some ideas, talk about spirituality. ठीक है, जो ये आत्मज्ञान, enlightenment इन सारी चीज़ों के बारे में बात करते थे, जो loss, profit, gain, happiness, desires. People who would talk about all of these things, he started interacting with these people who were the philosophers, who will teach you the various ideas and, knowledges of life, the philosophers. तो उनके पास गए, बहुत सारे philosophers के पास गए, बहुत सारी discussion की, बहुत कुछ समझा, बहुत कुछ जाना. So let's quickly answer this question. Which of the following Gana or clan did Buddha belong to? Lichavi Gana, Sakya Gana, Mala Gana or Vaji Gana? So guys, we know that he was from the Kshatriya caste. He belonged to a particular clan where he was born. Which of the following was he born into? Which of the following clan was he born into? Okay, and let's look at your answers. We have got the answers from Afreen, Agastya and Tanmay. Good job, you guys. Wonderful. Absolutely correct. Perfect timing. It was the Sakya Gana. So basically, बच्चे इनका जन्म जहाँ हुआ था, the place was called लुम्बिनी. ठीक है. This was around नेपाल. नेपाल के पास एक तराई टरेन है. वहाँ पे लुम्बिनी नाम की एक जगह थी, एक प्रजा थी, एक किंगडम था. That's where he was born to his father as Gautam Siddhartha. So Gautam Buddha, known by birth with the name of Siddhartha, was founder of Buddhism. He belonged to the Sakya clan. So there were earlier there used to be a lot of clans, groups हुआ करते थे, right? Who would be of the Kshatriya caste, Kshatriya Varna. The caste system that he belonged to was Kshatriya. He left his home at a very young age for realization and attainment of enlightenment. After this, he came to be known as Buddha or the Wise One. ठीक है, तो सिद्धार्थ के नाम से, गौतम सिद्धार्थ के नाम से जन्म हुआ था. Now Siddhartha attained enlightenment under a peepal tree in Bodh Gaya in Bihar. So around Nepal was this place called Lumbini. वहाँ से he started walking, moving around, wandering, trying to find the questions. At one point he figured that the answers that he's looking out for in the world, ठीक है, वो जो जवाब वो दुनिया में बाहर ढूंढ रहे हैं, उस सवाल का जवाब अंदर से मिलेगा. It is internalized. Nobody else, nothing else will give him the answer. So he figured out, based on his interaction with multiple philosophers, based on his understanding of the world, of the people, of whatever he understood, he realized कि हर एक सवाल का जवाब जो है इंसान के अंदर होता है, बाहर नहीं मिलेगा. And with that thought, he decided to go into deep meditation. ठीक है, बहुत ज़्यादा, मतलब कि मेडिटेट करते जा रहे हैं till you reach that cognitive level where you find answers to everything and you realize ये सब माया है. All of this is just something which is fooling us around, and the true sense of enlightenment, of the real spiritual awakening comes from within. अंदर से आते हैं जवाब, अंदर से वो अवेकनिंग आती है, अंदर से वो जो लाइट है, यू हैव टू फाइंड इट इंटरनली. ठीक है, सो विथ दैट थॉट ही सैट डाउन अंडर अ पीपल ट्री. और इस वक्त कहाँ पे थे? ही वॉज इन गया. गया, बोध गया उनके नाम पे ही जाना जाने लग गया. सो दिस इज अ प्लेस इन द स्टेट ऑफ बिहार. Under a peepal tree, he sat over there and started with his meditation and kept on meditating. After that, once he found his enlightenment, once he gained the awakening and found the answers, he went so deep with meditation, he unlayered all those thoughts and answers that he felt he had within, that he got awakened and enlightened. अब उनको सब पता है, अब उनके पास जीवन का ज्ञान आ गया था. And after that, we started calling him Buddha or the Wise One. He taught for the first time in Sarnath near Varanasi. So you can find the areas all being in and around Bihar, UP, in सारे areas में he was moving around. So once he gained the knowledge, he felt that it was important for other people to have it as well and for him to spread it around. So he started traveling, talking to people, giving them different lessons. The proper first lesson that he gave was in Sarnath, वाराणसी के पास, यूपी में एक जगह है. He spent the rest of his life constantly traveling on foot, teaching people, and passed away at a place called Kushinagar. ठीक है, तो अब ये पूरी जिंदगी वॉन्डर करते रहे, एक प्रीचर बन गए. मतलब आप सोचो, फ्रॉम अ प्रिंस ही बिकेम अ प्रीचर, डिड नॉट फाइंड अ हाउस. ही कुड हैव स्टेड इन अ प्रॉपर आश्रम और समथिंग, नो, बट ही फेल्ट दैट द रियल नीड was to awaken the people as well, give them the knowledge of the life, give them the answers to the questions that he had, and people who would be having similar questions, to have them awakened as well. Not just that, he had given up on the pleasures and comforts of life, right? He was so awakened that he realized that there's nothing left in all of this. इन सब चीज़ों में कुछ रखा ही नहीं है, ठीक है? So that's how he passed away at Kushinagar. Buddha's teachings emphasize that life is characterized by suffering and unhappiness. So he's very clear, he's been very clear, and that's a learning for us as well, which we need to understand, that when we think about life, there would always be something, irrespective how everything is going fine, how you're feeling fine, सब कुछ सही है, but still you will always have something missing. कहीं ना कहीं किसी बात का दुख हो जाएगा, कहीं ना कहीं किसी बात की dissatisfaction हो जाएगी. And that is what he said, that a human's life, till the point they are constantly engaged in all of these worldly things, जब तक आप दुनियादारी की मोह माया वाली चीज़ों में फंसे हुए हो, you are going to have sufferings, pain of losing somebody, pain of failure, pain of not achieving something, pain of not being what you wanted to be, pain of not having what others have. तो जिंदगी हमेशा ना दुख से भरी रहेगी, हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ सफर होता रहेगा, कुछ ना कुछ पेन होता रहेगा, and this is primarily because of our cravings and desires. तो हर चीज़ का root cause उन्होंने क्या बताया? What is the reason behind it? Because we are so much engaged in these worldly things. दुनियादारी की चीज़ों में, materialistic चीज़ों में हम इतना घुसे हुए हैं that till the point we have our concentration on that, we are never going to be truly happy. हमेशा हमें कुछ ना कुछ खटकता रहेगा, कुछ ना कुछ खाली लगता रहेगा. It is our expectations, it is our desires, which is the root cause of all of these problems, which often cannot be fulfilled. Because यार इच्छाएं अनेक है, desires are limitless. Once one is fulfilled, you will always have another one. आपकी एक इच्छा पूरी होगी, आपको दूसरी आ जाएगी. आपको हमेशा एक मिलेगी, आपको दूसरी चीज़ चाहिए होगी. आप 5 रुपए की डिज़ायर करोगे, वो मिल जाएंगे, तो फिर आपको 10 रुपए चाहिए होंगे. तो इच्छाएं अनेक है और वो बढ़ती जाती है, और इसीलिए हम हमेशा या तो ग्रीडीनेस में, या दुख में, या अनहैप्पीनेस में, डिससैटिस्फैक्शन में फंसे रहते हैं. The constant craving is described as the thirst or tanha. ठीक है? तो there's always this thirst for more. There's always this quest for more. Buddha advocated for the removal of the cravings by practicing moderation in all aspects of life. So he clearly said that once you have met the basic requirements, what is necessity, right? Air to breathe, a cloth to wrap around yourself, food to eat, to fill your stomach, to give you enough nutrition to be able to breathe and survive and live your life. हर एक चीज़ मॉडरेशन में जब तक आप लेकर चलते रहोगे, आप खुश रहोगे. You will be happy. The moment you start asking for more, ठीक है, जिस लम्हे, जिस वक्त आपको लगता है कि यार, I'll give you a very simple example. You probably may not be able to relate it, but कपड़े से बात करते हैं. If I wear a piece of cloth, which let's say I have woven, मुझे एक कपड़ा मिला, मैंने उसको कैसे भी सिला और पहन लिया. It is still covering my body, it is serving the purpose. But it's not branded, it's not very expensive, it's nothing fancy, it's doing its job. That is in moderation, serving the purpose that it is supposed to do. Having, and me as a person, has what is required as a basic necessity, a cloth to cover my body. How does desire come into the picture? First, we want to go ahead and shop for more clothes. Then we want these clothes to be also branded. ठीक है, अब brands में भी अलग अलग levels होते हैं. First you would want to buy from a fancy shop. Then you would want these branded clothes which has these logos and brands which would be very expensive. Then you would want from luxury brand. Then you would want from ultra luxury brand. The more you keep getting, the more you keep wanting. But काम ये सारे कपड़े सेम कर रहे हैं. So that's what he said, that till the point you keep on asking for more and craving for more, you are going to be unhappy. Because there's going to be no level at which you're going to be satisfied. और जब तक आप satisfied नहीं होगे, आपकी dreams fulfill नहीं होंगी, और दुख और वो desire बनी रहेगी. ठीक है? So the Buddha attained enlightenment at Bodh Gaya under a peepal tree. Is this true or is this false? गौतम बुद्ध ने अपनी जो enlightenment attain की, जो awakening हुई उनकी, वो बोध गया नाम के जगह पे हुई थी, ये सही है या ये गलत है? जय विष्णु has just written that ma'am doubt. What is your doubt बच्चे? You have still not told me. You'll have to tell me what is your doubt. आपको बताना पड़ेगा मैम को कि आपका डाउट क्या है. Okay, and let's look at your answers. In 3, 2, 1. And we have Afreen, Agastya who have answered absolutely correct. Wonderful. And तन्मय ने भी बिल्कुल सही जवाब दे दिया. The statement is absolutely true. ये बिल्कुल true है, right? Because he did attain it under a peepal tree in Bodh Gaya, which is a place in Bihar. ठीक है, उसके बाद उन्होंने क्या किया, बाकी जगह ट्रैवल कर करके ऑन फुट he kept on giving those preachings. पहला सारनाथ में दिया and then he passed away in Kushinagar. Okay, now teachings of Buddha. He emphasized the importance of kindness and respect for all living beings including animals. Inclusion, जिसके बारे में अचानक से आजकल सोशल मीडिया पे अराउंड द वर्ल्ड बहुत बात हो रही है कि बी रिस्पेक्टफुल, बी इंक्लूसिव, ठीक है, डाइवर्सिटी में ही जो है प्यार ढूंढो. सेम चीज़ वो तब से बोल रहे हैं, ठीक है, मतलब 2500 साल पहले से बोल रहे हैं. दैट understand that every individual is different, their needs are different, what they have to give is different, and respect that difference. Maybe if you are good at something, other person may not be, but still respect them. However they are, respect them. Okay? Even the animals, any living being, plants, animals, humans, respect what they are and include them as they are and accept them like that. ठीक है, जो जैसा है उसको वैसे ही accept करो, वैसे ही मानो. According to Buddha, our actions referred to as karma have consequences in this life and the next life as well. What goes around comes around. जैसा करते हो वैसा भरते हो. Karma, whatever your actions are, the results in life that you will be getting are going to be like that. And not just this life, but even the next life, if you have another life, will also get affected as per your karma. So if you are doing actions which are good, your intentions are good, you're doing good for the society, then your life, this particular life is also going to be good. You'll be paid off in a good way. अगर आप बुरा कर रहे हो तो आपके साथ भी बुरा होगा. If you're doing bad, your actions are bad, your intentions are bad, it will come back to you in one form or the other. He delivered his teachings in the common language of the people, Prakrit, to ensure accessibility. So at that point, people were mostly speaking Prakrit and that's what he would preach in. तो सब लोग जो भाषा बोलते थे उसमें ही बात करते थे ताकि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग तक अपनी बात पहुंचा सके. He encouraged individuals to think independently and not blindly accept his teachings. Next very important thing, what did he say? Just because I'm saying this, don't accept and be like, oh yes, Gautam Buddha has said this, this is absolutely correct. Also use your intellect. ठीक है, अपना दिमाग भी लगाओ, अपने अंदर की आवाज़ भी सुनो, ठीक है, अपनी बातें भी सुनो, अपनी ओपिनियन भी फॉर्म करो. कोई दूसरा भी आकर के कुछ कह रहा है तो सिर्फ क्योंकि उसने बोला है मान लेना इज नॉट द सोल्यूशन. ओके, यू ऑल्सो शुड थिंक इंडिविजुअली. अपने आप भी सोचना ज़रूरी है, अपने ओपिनियंस फॉर्म करना भी ज़रूरी है. सो ही इज़ फोकसिंग ऑन डेवलपिंग एन इंडिविजुअल एज एंड हिज इंडिविजुअलिटी. एक इंसान को खुद पे भरोसा करना, अपने थॉट्स बनाना, ये भी सिखाते थे. ठीक है, अब ये संघा क्या है? संघा was an association of individuals who left their homes to pursue true knowledge. So guys, we have to understand that he was like a सन्यासी, है ना? क्या है ये? एक तरह से सन्यासी है. पूरी जिंदगी इन्होंने त्याग दी, सारा मोह माया जिंदगी का, all the desires, all the pleasures, all the comfort, everything he had given up. And when you do that, you cannot have a family, you cannot have a home, a luxury of everything. You have to give up on those things, just focus on yourself, on your spirituality, on your awakening, on your meditation, enlightenment and finding the answers. So there were people, of course, and there still are, जो हम देखते हैं बहुत सारे monasteries में monks होते हैं, है ना, जो priests होते हैं. What do these people do is, just like Buddha, they also give up on all these pleasures and desires, and fulfillments of life. They leave everything, the family, the homes, desire to be earning, all of this is left by them and they come and do deep meditation. ठीक है, तो ऐसे कई सारे इंडिविजुअल्स थे जिन्होंने अपना घर बार छोड़ दिया था और कहाँ गए थे ट्रू नॉलेज को परस्यू करने के लिए along with Buddha. It was established by Mahavira and Buddha to provide a communal setting for spiritual seekers. So they basically had established a group themselves, a space for people like them who wanted to further go ahead and find the answers just like them. So that created an environment और इसी जगह को, इसी environment को संघा कहते थे, जहाँ सारे लोग जो जवाब ढूंढना चाहते थे, महावीर और बुद्धा दोनों ने मिलकर ये जो है क्रिएट किया और उन लोगों को वहाँ पे बुला करके स्पेस देने लगे कि हाँ आप यहाँ पे मेडिटेशन करिए, आप यहाँ पे जो है आपको जो भी करना है वो जवाब ढूंढिए. ठीक है, men and women from various social backgrounds started joining the Sangha. The rules made for the Buddhist Sangha were written down in a book called the Vinaya Pitaka. So, जो rules हैं, see when you're doing meditation, is it regular meditation? Because there are a lot of people who practice meditation on a regular basis. How come they have not achieved enlightenment? How come they have not awakened? And how come they have not become so spiritual in nature that they have given everything of their life up, just like Buddha or just like Mahavira or so many other monks in general? Because there are certain rules and regulations that has to be followed. There are certain, there's a certain way of life which has to be led, which will ultimately lead you there. For example, I practice meditation, deep meditation, 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day. But at the same time, once I'm done with my meditation, I get back to work and then I'm fighting to earn more money. I want more luxurious brands to buy. I have a lot of desires and expectations from life. My actions are not the best. It's not in the good intent. I will never achieve it, okay? Because I've not really broken myself from the other greeds of life, the other luring things of life. So there were certain rules, certain way of life which had to be followed and prescribed. जो बुद्धिस्ट के लिए, जो बुद्धा के फॉलोवर्स के लिए थे, बुद्धिस्ट संघ के लिए थे, वो written in a book called Vinaya Pitaka. Vinaya Pitaka में ये सब कुछ लिखा हुआ था. All men could join, but there were specific permissions for certain groups. जैसे कि कोई छोटा बच्चा है जो 18 साल 16 साल से छोटा है, a child who's very young, maybe 10 years, 12 years, they'll have to take permission from their parents. Parents' consent was very important because again, a child can decide to do anything. But when a child is not in the perfect age to make these decisions, parents have to intervene. ठीक है, slaves required their master's permission. Slavery का system उस वक्त चलता था. ठीक है, तो अगर कोई slave है, किसी का गुलाम है, तो उसे अपने master की permission चाहिए होती थी. Those in the service of the king needed his approval. So if there was somebody who was serving the king, would need king's approval. Debtors had to seek consent from creditors. किसी ने लोन लिया हुआ है, हो सकता है वो लोन से भागने के लिए ऐसा करो, पैसे वापस नहीं करने, चलो मंक बन जाते हैं, ज्ञान ले लेते हैं क्योंकि पैसे नहीं है वापस करने के लिए. तो जिसको पैसे दिए हैं उसको ये बोलना पड़ता कि भैया ठीक है, हाँ जी बच्चे, आप पूछ रहे हो या बोल रहे हो? आफरीन, आई एम नॉट श्योर, इज दैट अ क्वेश्चन और इज दैट अ स्टेटमेंट? यू विल हैव टू टेल मी. आप पूछ रहे हो या बता रहे हो? तो किसी ने पैसे दिए हैं. Women needed their husband's permission. So we also see, guys, because this is so old, few of the things might seem very weird to you. For example, why should a slave take master's permission? They are an individual. Master has not bought them. They cannot rule their life. They should, be free. Or a female should not require permission of her husband. If a husband doesn't require the permission of the wife, why should a wife have the permission of the husband? So there are few things where we see some cultural traditional stereotyping over here, but this is how it was because it's 2500 years back. So how were their lives? How did the life used to look like? Naturally they were leading a very simple life, right? बहुत सादा जीवन उच्च विचार. Okay, they would lead a very simple life. The primary focus would be on meditation. They would go around the cities and to different places along with the people, ask for food over there, beg for the food. तो भिक्षा मांग करके खाना खाते थे, जो मिल गया खुशी से खा लेते थे, नहीं मिला खुशी से रह लेते थे during fixed hours. ऐसा भी नहीं है कि दिन भर घूम रहे, there was a particular time people would expect people like them. They might prepare extra meal or might give something to them. They were referred to as bhikshus, okay, which means renouncers. So basically क्या हो रहा है, भिक्षा मांग रहे हैं. भिक्षा is when you're asking for food and dependent on other people. So the person who asks for bhikshas, a male member would basically be bhikshus, and for bhikkhush, sorry, not bhikshus, bhikkhush, and for females it was bhikkhunish, bhikkhunis. ठीक है, थोड़ा सा pronunciation difficult है, it's like a tongue twister. They engaged in the teaching others and mutual support as well. So they would support each other, they would help each other out, and while traveling and moving, they would keep teaching other people. ठीक है? So the question is, the rules made for the Buddhist Sangha were written down in a book called what? Vinaya Pitaka, Gita Upanishad और बुद्धा पुराना. Afreen, आप अगर पूछ रहे थे, if you were asking the question, you have the answer over here, and that way I'm sure you'll be able to answer this quiz question also correctly. And if you were stating, yes, you're correct. So the Buddhist Sanghas had a proper rule book of how the life has to be led, what are the system that they have to follow. It was written down in a book. What was the name of this book which the Buddhist monks used to follow? Okay, we have started getting the answer. Afreen ने बिल्कुल सही जवाब दे दिया. Perfect timing. August and Tanmay also perfect. You guys, it was Vinaya Pitaka. Vinaya Pitaka was the name of the rule book which described everything which the Buddhist Sangha was supposed to follow. Okay. Now, these people, as we know, they would go around. Okay, they would ask for food. They would be very much engaged in meditation. Okay, they would give up everything in their lives, and they would also teach and mutually support each other. Apart from that, they would conduct meetings to resolve internal conflicts within the Sangha. If there was any problem, they will come together, have a proper discussion, help each other out, resolve that. Members came from various social classes, including Brahman, Kshatriya, merchant, laborers, barbers, courtesans and slaves. So a lot of members of the Sangha recorded Buddha's teachings and composed poems about their life experiences in the Sangha. So what do we understand over here? It doesn't matter what your social background was. आप किसी भी background से आते हो, आप higher caste के थे, lower caste के थे, आप slave थे या master थे, आप male है, female है. It doesn't matter what social group or social identity you had to give that up and come over here and become a follower of Buddhism. Simple as that. You would become रिनाउंसर ऑफ लाइफ. आप जिंदगी को त्याग कर यहाँ पे आते और अपना मेडिटेशन में लग जाते. ठीक है, सारे मेंबर्स चाहे वो किसी भी क्लास के हो. अदरवाइज व्हेन यू गो बैक इन द सोसाइटी, स्पेशली एट दैट टाइम, अगर ये सारे लोग बैक इन द सोसाइटी जाएंगे तो दे विल हैव डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी पॉलिसीज. नॉट एवरीवन विल इंटरैक्ट विथ ईच अदर. यहाँ पे नन ऑफ दैट मैटर्ड. ऑल ऑफ देम वर्कड टुगेदर, हेल्प्ड टुगेदर ईच अदर, सपोर्टेड ईच अदर, रिजॉल्व द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स टुगेदर. कई सारे लोग जो है इन सारे प्रीचिंग्स के बारे में, वट एवर दे लर्न फ्रॉम बुद्धा या जो भी मेडिटेशन करके आपस के डिस्कशन से दे वुड कंक्लूड एंड लर्न, वो रिकॉर्ड करते थे. दे वुड राइट इट डाउन एंड ऑल्सो अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स दे वुड कंपोज पोम्स अबाउट देयर एक्सपीरियंसेस एंड देयर लर्निंग्स बैक एट द संघा. तो वहाँ जो सीख रहे हैं उसके बारे में कई बार कविताएं भी लिखी जाती थी. विहारास क्या थे? बेसिकली मोनास्ट्रीज होते हैं. आज के डेट में भी when you go to some places where you will find a lot of, especially in Himalayan region and all of these places, you'll find such kind of monasteries, right? So monasteries were basically बच्चे the place where the monks, the people who have renounced the life and have become a follower of Buddha, like a priest, है ना, या nun, वो monks और nuns जहाँ पे रहते थे, संघा कहीं ना कहीं जहाँ हम कह सकते हैं जहाँ पूरी संघा रहती थी, दैट प्लेस वॉज नोन एज विहारास और मोनास्ट्रीज. ठीक है, इनिशियली द मंक्स एंड द नन्स ट्रैवल्ड स्टेइंग इन टेम्पररी शेल्टर ड्यूरिंग द रेनी सीजन. तो पहले वो इधर उधर घूमते रहते थे, जैसे बुद्धा का भी वही था. ही वुड ट्रैवल ऑन फुट, जस्ट बी स्लीप एनीवेयर एंड वुड कीप प्रीचिंग पीपल. एंड फिर वहाँ पे कुशीनगर में उनकी डेथ हो गई थी. बट जब monks or nuns शुरू में when they started with this whole system of Sangha, they would also travel just like Buddha, and only during the rainy season they would create a temporary shelter. But as the time increased, more and more people started coming in, more systems were designed where you had to settle down a lot of times in one place. The need of permanent shelters grew up. Okay, it came up, it felt that there was a requirement of permanent shelter, and hence the viharas started building, okay, which were made of wood, brick and dug into hills. So primarily उन areas में monasteries हमें आज भी ज़्यादा मिलती है, because that is where initially lot of preaching used to happen. So a lot of viharas have in fact been constructed over there. Okay, now how did they used to manage? Because they're not earning, they're just meditating. And when they were traveling, they had the option to beg for food and ask for food and take bhikshas. But now that viharas have been constructed and they have to stay in the viharas, where will the money, the resources, the food and other things come from? So a lot of people would give donation for the land where the vihara was built. तो किसी को लगा कि preaching से बहुत inspire हो गए. There were followers, but there were also followers who had not become monk and nun. Right, there were followers, let's say I believe in the preaching of Buddha, but I don't want to give up every desire in life and become a monk. I want to enjoy the desires of life, but still follow his preachings for my spiritual satiation or my mental peace. मुझे जीवन का ज्ञान ये follow करना है, that's my religious belief in a way. तो मेरे जैसे कई सारे लोग होंगे, अगर वो भक्त बन गए बुद्धा के, तो उन्होंने अपनी ज़मीन दे दी या कुछ पैसे दे दिए, ठीक है, फूड दे दिया, जो भी whatever in whatever capacity they could help. Whoever would find the preachings of Buddha make meaningful or very very true to themselves, very much resonate with it, they would keep donating to these people. आज भी हम देखते हैं कई सारे लोग होते हैं ना, मंदिर, मस्जिद, चर्च, गुरुद्वारे में बहुत सारे डोनेशंस दे रहे होते हैं, लोगों को खाना खिला रहे होते हैं, पैसे दे रहे होते हैं, कपड़े दे रहे होते हैं, कंबल दे रहे होते हैं. Similarly, people used to make donation back at that time, and that used to be the resource for the viharas. तो आपका लैंड, दूसरा सामान, कुछ भी यूटेंसिल्स, क्लोथ्स और मे बी ब्लैंकेट्स, ठीक है, फूड फ्रॉम वेल्दी इंडिविजुअल्स, किंग्स, लोकल कम्युनिटीज, एवरीवन वुड कीप डोनेटिंग देम, एंड दैट इज हाउ दे यूज्ड टू easily survive. Donors would give food, clothing and medicines for the monks and nuns living in your viharas, which means all the basic necessities that was required to survive, which they could not get without the money otherwise, and because they were not working, was provided to them by through donations. ठीक है. New forms of Buddhism की बात करें तो Mahayana Buddhism emerged as a new form of Buddhism. So how it existed earlier, वक्त के साथ साथ, ठीक है, as time passes, people start making reforms and certain changes. New people would come who would have new ideas that with which they would want to mold things. तो वैसे ही एक नया form of Buddhism आता है, which introduced Buddha statues in place of symbolic representation. So earlier, idol worship in Buddhism was not there. There were certain symbols, there were certain chants, there was meditation, but having a statue of Buddha was not there. It is something that was that happened very very relatively in a very recent past. और इस बुद्धिज्म को महायाना बुद्धिज्म कहते हैं, जहाँ आइडल वर्शिप, स्टैचू वर्शिप स्टार्ट हो गई थी. बिलीफ इन बोधिसत्वास वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड. बोधिसत्वास क्या है? Were enlightened beings who chose to remain in the world to teach and assist others rather than isolating themselves in meditation. So as I told you guys, right, that there are two kinds of followers, or maybe three kinds of followers. There are people who would give up the desires and everything, and but still stay amongst the people and not go away into the mountain and meditate into isolation. There would be people who would be monks and nuns and doing everything in isolation. And then there are people who are followers, but they have not given up things in life. So the bodhisattvas were basically the people who had kind of become a priest and a preacher, had given up a lot of things in life, but they stayed along with the people so that they could pass on the message and the teachings and the preachings to the people. लोगों को सिखा सके, पढ़ा सके, समझा सके, बता सके. तो लोगों के बीच में रहने लग गए, स्टैचू को वर्शिप करने लग गए, ठीक है, symbolic representations को replace कर दिया. The worship of bodhisattvas gained popularity and spread to the regions like Central Asia, China, Korea and Japan. तो इन सारे जगहों पे क्या हुआ, अब एक कहीं ना कहीं आप कह सकते हो डिसाइपल आ गए हैं बुद्धा जी के, वो अब एक मंक बन गए हैं, वो लोगों के बीच में बैठ रहे हैं, उनको बता रहे हैं, एंड पीपल आर नॉट जस्ट वर्शिपिंग एंड फॉलोइंग बुद्धा बट ऑल्सो दीज न्यू बोधिसत्वास. तो ये जो नए लोग आ गए हैं उनकी भी वर्शिपिंग जो है वो स्टार्ट हो जाती है नए सिस्टम में. तो नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन आता है हमारा, डैश वर कंस्ट्रक्टेड टू शेल्टर द मंक्स ड्यूरिंग द रेनी सीजन. What were created in the rainy season where the monks could find shelter? Was it the viharas, or chaityas? What were the shelters where the monks would stay during the rainy season created known as viharas or chaityas? Tanmay has answered, has taken an attempt. Good job. What about others? अगस्त्य ने भी कर दिया है. Great. आफरीन अमेजिंग, बिल्कुल सही जवाब दिया है. विहारास इज द करेक्ट आंसर. विहारास वर द शेल्टर्स वेयर द मंक्स वुड स्टे. ठीक है, तो दिस इज बेसिकली अर्ली मोनास्ट्री. Now talking about the spreading of Buddhism. So it started from here, you can see, and you will see it spread in Central Asia, entire Eastern Asia, South Asia, and a huge section of India as well. So it extended to the western and southern India with creation of a lot of caves for bhikkhus. ठीक है, तो जो लोग थे, जो मंक्स थे, जो मांगते जाते थे खाना, उनके लिए केव्स वगैरह बनाना शुरू किया. सो दे स्टार्टेड मूविंग फॉर फूड इन दीज रीजन्स एंड दैट्स हाउ दे स्टार्टेड स्प्रेडिंग द आइडिया ऑफ बुद्धिज्म एज वेल. इट ऑल्सो स्प्रेड साउथ ईस्टवर्ड. ठीक है, साउथ ईस्टवर्ड यहाँ पे भी स्प्रेड करता है. ठीक है, फिर श्रीलंका हो गया आपका, म्यांमार, Thailand and other parts of Southeast Asia including Indonesia. So this entire region, the Southeast Asia, ठीक है, इंडोनेशिया, ये सारा कवर हो जाता है और यहाँ धीरे 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 करके बुद्धिज्म बहुत स्प्रेड हो जाता है. द ओल्डर फॉर्म ऑफ बुद्धिज्म नोन एज द थेरावड़ा बुद्धिज्म गेन्ड पॉपुलैरिटी इन दीज रीजन्स. तो इन रीजन्स में कौन सा बुद्धिज्म ज्यादा पॉपुलैरिटी गेन करता है बच्चे? व्हाट स्प्रेड अर्लियर इन ऑल दीज रीजन्स वाज द ओल्डर फॉर्म विच इज द थेरावड़ा बुद्धिज्म. ठीक है, अभी नया जो रीजन ये चाइना वगैरह जो हो गया, वहां पे महायाना बुद्धिज्म यू विल फाइंड प्रीडोमिनेंटली. Central Asia, China, Korea, Japan, these days especially, that is what we find over there. ठीक है, now stages of life की अगर बात की जाए, so what are the various stages of life? 4 recognized stages है. पहला है ब्रह्मचार्य, फिर गृहस्था, वानप्रस्था and संन्यासा. So according to Buddha there are like 4 stages to life of a general human, किसी भी इंसान का. पहला क्या होता है? ठीक है, it's study and celibacy, which means you're not married, you're nothing, you're gaining knowledge, you're gaining skills to be able to survive. Next hota hai householder, where now you give up the celibacy, you're not single anymore, you're married, you have a family, you grow a house. Then vanaprastha, which means then you become a forest dweller for meditation, then you give yourself to spirituality, to worshipping, and finally you become an ascetic. आप फाइनली सन्यासी बन जाते हो. ठीक है, तो ये जो है 4 स्टेजेस है जिसको हर कोई फॉलो करता था अकॉर्डिंग टू हिम. ब्राह्मण, क्षत्रिय, वैश्यास, दे मूव थ्रू दीज स्टेजेस फ्रॉम एजुकेशन टू मैरिड लाइफ टू मेडिटेशन एंड फाइनली रिनाउंसिएशन. दिस इज हाउ पीपल यूजुअली लिव्ड. The system allowed individuals to balance the worldly responsibilities as well as spiritual growth. This way people did not have to give everything, but they could also spiritually grow and find their true being and answers to their questions. So pilgrims क्या होता है? Pilgrims pilgrimage जो करते हैं, which basically means the worshippers, people who travel for worshipping purposes to holy places, to worship places. Notable Chinese Buddhist pilgrims include Fashian, Xuanzang and of course Yixing. Journeys to sites associated with the life of Buddha and famous monasteries. तो कई सारे चाइनीज बुद्धिस्ट जो आपके पिलग्रिम्स हैं, हम जानते हैं, जिनके बारे में हमने पढ़ा है, वो उन सारे जगहों पे गए हैं जो बुद्धा और उनके मोनास्ट्रीज के अर्ली लाइफ से रिलेटेड है. दे हैव ट्रैवल्ड अराउंड. सो दीज पीपल आर नोन एज पिलग्रिम्स. ठीक है, they wrote accounts of their journeys, documenting their experiences, the problems that they faced, the places that they visited, and along with the sacred texts they brought back. तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें जब वो मोनास्ट्री में गए तो वहाँ उनको लिखी हुई मिली. बहुत सारी चीज़ें उन्होंने अपने एक्सपीरियंस के बारे में, अपने ट्रैवल के बारे में, क्या खतरा था, क्या सच उन्होंने देखा, क्या डिफरेंट था फ्रॉम व्हाट दे हैड प्रिज्यूम्ड, व्हाट वाज देयर एक्सपीरियंस, क्या खाया, क्या पिया, ठीक है, क्या सीखा. All of this they have accounted in various places. So let's quickly answer this question. Buddhism was limited to India and other countries had no idea about this new religion. Is this true or is this false? बुद्धिज्म जो है वो सिर्फ इंडिया में लोगों को पता था, बाकी देश को इसके बारे में कोई आइडिया नहीं था और ना ये कहीं और स्प्रेड हुआ। क्या ये स्टेटमेंट ट्रू है या ये स्टेटमेंट फॉल्स है? Okay, and we have Afreen Agastya Tanmay, absolutely correct answer, wonderful. It is false, बच्चे. We have just seen China, Japan, Southeast Eastern Asia, Indonesia, श्रीलंका, ये सारे जगहों पे ये स्प्रेड हुआ है, ठीक है. मंक्स जो है वो लोकल लैंग्वेजेस में भी प्रीच करते थे ताकि सारे लोगों को जो है उन तक ये बात पहुंच सके. So it was definitely spreading, ठीक है. Now let's quickly summarize what we have done. Siddhartha, who is also known as Gautam Buddha now, was born some 2500 years back. He left home at one point to seek knowledge of life, meditated under a peepal tree in Bodh Gaya and attained enlightenment. Then he traveled on foot his entire life, started with Sarnath where he gave his first preaching and then kept on walking around, wandering around, preaching everybody and passed away in a place called Kushinagar. His teachings highlighted life sufferings, insatiable desire, importance of moderation and meditation, kindness and karma. He had a group called the Sangha, which was a community of those who left their homes and had rules documented in a book called Vinaya Patika of how the people of Sangha should operate and function. Members, which is your bhikkhus and bhikkhunish, lived and meditated and begged for food. Buddhism spread as monks and nuns traveled through teaching the entire year, with monasteries called viharas were built shelter during the rainy season and then it became permanent shelter. Viharas were initially made up of wood and later brick, with some carved into caves. As Buddhism spread across different regions over time, how they survived was basically based on donations. They were dependent on donations which were given by other followers. Now we have witnessed what life was like for those who were staying in Buddhist Sangha and how did Buddhism came into existence. Their dedication inspired many and earned Buddhism a very, very significant, great respect in Asia and across. Around the time when Buddhism was gaining popularity, there was another school of thought also which was gaining prominence, not maybe as much but was still. What was that? Who founded it? That we'll find soon. So stay tuned. So guys, make sure that you go log into the Embibe app. ठीक है, आप जब ऐप में करोगे तो स्कूल एग्जामिनेशन में जाके आपको अपने ग्रेड को चूज कर लेना है. एंड व्हेन यू डू दैट यू विल बी एबल टू सी अंडर होम and Imbibe live classes all the sessions that are upcoming. For example, this is the session that you're watching. You just have to make sure to register yourself like that. ठीक है, आपको सिर्फ वहाँ पे register कर लेना है. ठीक है, और आप देखो अभी जो है आने वाले और भी classes आपको यहाँ पे नजर आ रही होंगी. So next session we have on 3rd of November where we are going to the next part of Jainism. So just make sure to register yourself. ठीक है, Afreen, I hope I get to see you in the next session. ठीक है, और ये है हमारा Imbibe लेंस का ऐप. इसको डाउनलोड करके एक्सप्लोर ज़रूर कर लीजिएगा. एंड डू नॉट फॉरगेट टू स्टे ट्यून्ड एंड कनेक्ट विथ अस. We are having this topper series planned for all of you guys, 6th, 7th, 8th, where we are going to make you prepare. We're going to get you prepared for your final exams and finish the entire syllabus. तो बस बने रहना है. We'll be doing some practice sessions as well. It will help you a lot in learning how to write answers for your exams. एग्जाम में बहुत सारे सवाल पूछे जाते हैं, हमें पता नहीं होता है कि जवाब कैसे देना है पढ़ने के बावजूद. तो प्रैक्टिस सेशंस भी करेंगे हम, जिससे हम ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस कर सके, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा बेटर समझ सके कि और बेहतर कैसे एग्जाम में हम अपने आंसर को डिलीवर कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, so with this bacha we are going to wind up the session now. So I'll see you guys on 3rd and where we will be doing and discussing Jainism. तो मिलते हैं अगली बार. Till then, have a great day, have a great weekend, take good care of yourselves. Till the next time, stay tuned and do not forget to subscribe and register for the session and keep imbibing.
Keep imbibing. We believe in you.